One quick question. What is the difference between reserved instance and EC2 instance? If your answer involves that reserved instance is a faster EC2 instance, right? We need to talk right now. So in this video, I'm gonna show you how reserved instance can save you 72% or more. You don't need to change the architecture, you don't need to change the code, just a smarter billing commitment. That's all you need. Your organization may be paying 3 times more payment for the same EC2 instance just because you did not identify the long-term instances you are going to run for your application or business. Once you identify them, and then you can leverage reserved instance to save cost. So in this video, you're going to learn what RIs, means reserved instance, actually are, how they reduce your AWS cost, see the real savings number compared to on-demand pricing, and then when to use the reserved instances. Learn which workloads are the perfect fit for the reserved instances. And we will end with the exam scenario which AWS loves to test on the cost perspective. Imagine you are renting a house month on month. This is the most flexible option. You can leave anytime and move anywhere whenever you want, just a couple of days or weeks of notice. But you are paying highest payment for that house. Now you are renting the same house for 1 year or 3 year commitment. Now landlord will give you the discounts because you have a long-term commitment. And then same principle works in EC2 instance as well. So when you use on-demand EC2 instance, you pay the highest rent for that EC2 instance. But when you go for a commitment for 1 year or 3 year, you pay less. The number one misconception is the reserved instance is a separate dedicated EC2 instance that AWS spins up for you. But the truth is, reserved instance is a billing discount reservation. It is not about EC2 instance. The existing EC2 instance automatically will be applicable for the low billing, because when you go for reserved instance billing, when you go and purchase reserved instance, so you choose a particular EC2 instance type, and when you choose that, only reserved instance discount will be applicable for that EC2 instance type. Compare this on-demand versus 1 year versus 3 years commitment. When you go for on-demand, you pay 100% bill for that EC2 instance, but you have a lot of flexibility to terminate that EC2 instance anytime. But when you go for 1 year commitment, you pay 60%, so 40% savings you have. But when you go for 3 year reserved instance commitment, then you pay 28%, so 72% savings with compared to on-demand EC2 instance. So on-demand is a full price with zero commitment, best for unpredictable workloads. You are testing your workloads, you just spin up EC2 instance and test it out and destroy it. But 1 year reserved is you are already confirmed about that EC2 instance. You know that this application or business is going to run for at least a year, so you go for a commitment for a 1 year. But the 3 year reserved, up to 72% saving, maximum discounts for long-term stable workloads, because you know this business is going to run for at least 3 years, such as banking database, because bank is not gonna be closed in 3 years, it's gonna run for long term. So minimum 3 years, you know your database is gonna run, so you commit for the reserved instance. How actually it works: you identify the EC2 instance for the application or business is running. You know this is going to run at least 1 year or 3 year. Once you identify the EC2 instance type, then you go to EC2 console and purchase reserved instance. I will show you how you can do that. But the existing EC2 instance automatically applicable for that discounts. So discounts will be applicable for those EC2 instance billing. So your overall billing will be reduced automatically. Let's talk about some real world use cases. Let's say online retail store. It's going to run for 24/7 for a couple of years. You know, if you commit for reserved instance, it is going to save the dollar. Then banking applications. You're running banking database. You know this bank is gonna run for a couple of years. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So 3 years commitment is not a big deal. So you apply reserved instance discount on those database servers. Then let's say you are running your SaaS applications. So for the SaaS, software as a service applications, you are running hundreds of EC2 instances, and you know at least 60 to 70 EC2 instance you're gonna run for continuously for 1 year or 3 years commitment. So you go for reserved instances for those EC2 instance type and you save the bill. AWS exam loves to test for cost optimization questions, and reserved instance comes to the questions every time. For example, a company runs a stable applications 24/7 and expects usage to stay unchanged for the next 3 years. So basically, company is ready to give 3 years commitment. So the common mistake is students often pick on-demand or spot instance to save the cost. But the right answer is reserved instance. Alright, the workload is predictable and long term. This is the pattern reserved instances are built for. So long term. Remember this: predictable workloads, reserved instances; unpredictable workloads, on demand instances; and flexible or interruptible workloads, you go for spot instances. This is your quick reference for on-demand instances, unpredictable short-term workloads, you go for it. Reserved instances, predictable long-term workloads, you go for 1 or 3 year commitment. The spot instances, applicable for flexible and interruptible workloads, so that you can resume where you stopped. Remember these 5 things before you leave. Number 1, reserved instances are a pricing discount applied to an existing EC2 instance, not a new server type. Number 2, remember you need a 1 or 3 year commitment. You choose your term upfront. Longer commitment unlocks deeper discounts. Then up to 72% discounts you get. The maximum discounts applies to 3 years, all upfront reserved instances. Number 4 point, you remember this is best for predictable workloads. The servers which are always on, web servers, application servers, and database servers are the ideal candidates. And 5th point, this is heavily tested on the AWS certification exam. So make sure you understand it correctly. Quick recap: no architecture changes required, savings up to 72%, and key concepts for AWS certification exam. Remember these 3 points we discussed. So let me show you how you can actually purchase reserved instances. Here you go in the console. I am on the EC2 instance console, and if you look at the left panel, all the menus available, if you go down, you will see that reserved instance. This is the reserved instance, okay? And once you select it, you see there is no reserved instance purchase right now. So I'm gonna show you how you can purchase. Click on purchase reserved instances, okay? Then you choose all the parameters like platforms, tenancy, offering class, instance type T3 micro, okay, whatever you want, and then hit search. Once you click on search, based on this criteria, it will pick the EC2 instance type, okay? So now you pick which EC2 instance and how many of them you need it. Let's say your application is running on a particular US East 1 region and you are currently running 60 instances for your applications. Minimum 40 will be always running for all the years, and maybe it can run until 3 years. So what you do, you choose that particular EC2 instance type. So I picked T3 micro. So for all the T3 micro, in price is listed here, okay? So 12 months, 36 months, I'm gonna go for 36 months and number 3 instances. Once you choose that, and then you click on that add to cart, so that will be added to the cart, and you go to the view to cart and order all. Once you order and made the payment, you purchase that reserved instance. And once you purchase this reserved instance, automatically the T3 micro instance we chose for reserved instance, right? So automatically the billing discounts will be applicable when you run T3 micro EC2 instance. I hope you understand how reserved instance works, how you can purchase reserved instance, and how you can apply that discounts automatically on the EC2 instance you choose. All right, thank you so much. I will see you in the next piece.